Today's episode is brought to you by the Positively Grateful Resources Bundle. With a video training and dedicated workbook and some bonus personal stories, this Pay What You Want resource will guide you to a gratitude practice that works best for you. You can purchase this at positivelyproductive.com/resources. In a recent episode, we covered effective life coaching questions you can ask yourself. And today I wanted to continue that conversation by sharing 3 powerful yet simple questions you can use to figure out how to better achieve your goals. I use these questions in my vision board training as they're one of the quickest ways to figure out where you want to go and what's involved. You're listening to the Positively Living Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Zawrotny, founder of Positively Productive Systems and a productivity coach certified in positive psychology and stress management. Join me as we explore ways to live a more proactive, positive life with episodes on productivity, self-awareness, mindset, entrepreneur life, habits and systems, simplicity, fun, and more. I understand overwhelm personally as a multi-passionate entrepreneur, wife and mom to kids and cats, and as a caregiver. I'm here to help you choose what's right for you so you can do less, live more, and breathe easier. Sound good? Let's get to it. Welcome back to the Positively Living Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa, and I'm so glad you're here with me. While I'm thrilled to coach you each and every episode, and will continue to do so, I also want to make sure you have the tools to coach yourself as needed. In a recent episode, we covered effective life coaching questions you can ask yourself, and today I wanted to continue that conversation by sharing 3 powerful yet simple questions you can use to figure out how to better achieve your goals. And there's a fun twist with these. I use these questions in my vision board training as they're one of the quickest ways to figure out where you want to go and what's involved. In episode 137, I share how to create a vision board that works, and in it I do share these questions. Also, if you're curious how these work in the full context of creating a vision board, I have recorded a training, and you can find that in the resources vault, along with a ton of other resources on the resources page of the positivelyproductive.com website. When guiding clients or workshop attendees in creating a vision board, it's the pre-work that's the most critical part of the process. Without that, you don't have a vision for the vision board. It's the time when you want to consider what you want, which is necessary so you can represent it visually on the board. It's less about the images and more about the meaning behind them that matters. And you get that from this reflective process. During the training, I offer 3 prompts, 3 questions that I'm sharing with you today. And what may surprise you most is that they are in reverse order of how I think we intuitively consider approaching our goals. Order matters with these 3 questions, and they are: what do you want to be? What do you want to do? And what do you want to have? Be, do, and have. I remember learning about this reflection and coaching model over a decade ago, and I've used it successfully for clients and for myself ever since. It's a concept that can be a game changer in how you approach your goals because it's opposite of what we're used to, and as such, may be counterintuitive at first. But hang on, stay with me. Traditionally, we might think, I have to have fill in the blank, to do fill in the blank, and then I'll be fill in the blank. For example, I need to have a certain amount of money to buy my family a house, and then we'll be happy and content. That sounds direct and logical. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. But how many times have we thought this way and in this direction, only to have it not work, to not reach those goals? And that's because the way to approach it is really working it in reverse. The be, do, have model is a framework used in personal development and goal setting, and it starts with the be, which emphasizes the importance of first becoming the type of person who embodies the qualities necessary for achieving the desired goals. The idea is when you shift your mindset to being, it informs the actions you take, the doing, which then ultimately leads to achieving the results you seek, the having. You know the phrase, be the change you want to see? That's what I want you to think when you think about this approach. If we first need to be the person we want to become, this means identifying and then embodying the qualities, attitudes, beliefs, the attributes that align with that vision. For instance, if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you need to start by embodying things like confidence, resilience, consistency, and creativity that you would find in a successful entrepreneur. The action comes from the being. So as we know, action is essential to achieve our goals, but it's got to be the right action. And it's the being that creates the foundation. Once you've embraced the being aspect, the doing naturally follows. You'll find yourself taking inspired action towards your goals because you're acting from a place of alignment with your true self, with the true vision of what you want to be, right? It's like when you make a decision, your brain searches for ways to make it happen. Have you ever noticed that? It's often the deciding and the committing that's the hardest part. But once you are clear on where you want to go, and in this case, who you want to be, you find a way. When you decide who you want to be, you will seek out ways to make that happen. From there, having is the natural outcome. The tangible results and achievements that we originally wanted in the first place then become a natural consequence of understanding how you need to be and what you need to do. While it sounds a bit woo-woo, like magic and manifestation, it's actually proof that aligned action in the form of consistent, habitual action will yield the results you want. You start by being clear about the kind of person you need to be to reach your goals and what kinds of action that person would take. And then you take that action in a way that fits you, which is part of what I coach, and you reach those goals. Now, does it take time and effort? Yes. But is it direct and effective? Also, yes. Let's get into some examples. Let's say you have this vision of being healthy and active. You start by being someone who prioritizes choices that nourish the body and mind. You would ask yourself, what would a healthy person do? And lest we fall down the slippery slope of extreme diet culture, I want to reassure you that truly healthy people live their lives fully and treat themselves. This is not about deprivation. This is about self-love, and this is about making choices that prioritize wellness. So this is where you have an opportunity to be specific about who you're being. For me, I would say someone who is healthy and vibrant, who doesn't diet, but intuitively lives in a way that prioritizes feeling energetic and happy. So I would make choices that are consistent with feeling those things, being those things. And once you're clear on who you're going to be, you would then do the things like exercising regularly or eating nutritious foods that your body prefers, and even prioritizing sleep and stress management while we're at it. Doing all of those amazing things will lead to your version of wellness. The result can't help but be positive. Things like increased energy, improved well-being, and a greater sense of vitality. And the thing is, research is showing, and we know even anecdotally, that these small changes can make a big impact. The results ultimately, by going in this order, will mean a healthier life. Now, how far you need to go in order to get to the health level that you want, the wellness that you want, well, that's going to be personal to you, your starting point, what you consider your ending point or your maintenance point. There's a lot of variables in there, but the results will still be very positive and you will head toward a healthier life. All right, let's go for another example from one of my accountability clients. This incredibly capable business owner was juggling work and family and also had it on her heart to write a book. And she had achieved so many goals, but this one was eluding her. And she was struggling to carve out the time to do that, which happens to so many of us. This is so familiar to me. So this is how we used the be, do, have model and how it worked for her. When we reviewed her schedule and her intentions and where she was struggling, we realized that her desire to be an author wasn't being honored in her life. I mean, she was saying it, but she wasn't looking at it as something that she is, that she would be an author. When we clarified how much she wanted to write a book, we started with what it takes to be a published author. To be an author means to be consistent and creative and to prioritize writing. It means being an avid reader and researcher. It means being a networker and a supporter of the craft of writing, among many other things. And although it sounds so basic, it's essential to highlight that a critical aspect of being an author is writing regularly, probably daily, but at least consistently. When we identified this is what she wanted to be, her demeanor changed. She had a conversation with her husband right away to discuss how this is what she wanted to be. And they planned on 2 nights a week where he would work with her so she could have quiet writing time. And we opted to do this due to her work schedule, due to her family schedule. It would fit with what everyone needed. And also the idea that we wanted longer sessions for her to get into a flow state. This also matched time of day for her when she would be most energized to do this kind of work. She took ownership of being an author. And when it came to the natural action to move her chosen story forward, it felt so much simpler than it had before. We then discussed how to work the habits in a way that felt natural for her, designing a dedicated workspace for her to be in flow state, creating a ritual that would help her get into the mindset of writing and separate from work and family and everything else that tends to bog down the mind. Ask any mom about mental load, and that's what we're talking about. So we had a system set up. We had the habits to get her into that state. And we even talked about how she would organize her research and writing and create deadlines to keep her motivated, and also how she would identify what a successful writing session would look like. We met bi-weekly to check in and tweak things as necessary, as well as to celebrate each and every step. And she kept showing up, imperfectly, mind you. Some weeks it would be on point, and other weeks it was a hot mess. It's called life. But she kept taking that aligned action of an author, and she completed her first book in less than a year. I think it's important now to mention something that we don't talk about as much when it comes to these kinds of plans, when it comes to goal setting and achieving, and that's the importance of patience. When I say my client completed her book in less than a year, which I know is absolutely outstanding, I know your immediate thought is, wow, that feels like a long time. And in a world of instant gratification, I get it. I want a lot of things done yesterday. Thank you very much. But when we are seeking transformation and achievement, it's essential we understand that these things do take time. It can be variable time, and you can get to different achievement levels in a much shorter amount of time. But overall, we do need to be patient. We do need to understand that this is a much longer game than the magic bullet, instantaneous kind of world that we live in would make us think. This is actually why I recommend clients work with me, especially when we're doing accountability, for a minimum of 3 months if they're able. Because you need time and consistent practice to lock in the habits that are going to sustain you and to see the results. Now, there are many different ways to track results, but realistically, you need some time to put the practice in and to be able to collect enough data to understand what's happening and the achievement the progress that you're making. And I know it can be hard to wait, but the results will be worth it. And if you consider the person you need to be to do the thing you want to do, that successful person is undoubtedly patient as well. So what are your next steps? Well, here are the recommended steps you can take to implement the be, do, have model for yourself. The first is to reflect on these 3 questions and how they connect. So I want you to ask yourself the 3 questions. What do I want to be? And what do I want to do? And what do I want to have? And write down your answers. This is a great opportunity for some quick journaling because you want to capture this and maybe even process it, writing down different ideas, stepping away, coming back to it. It's going to take some reflective time. And then I want you to see how they connect. And here's a bonus tip. You can even answer the questions in reverse order if needed. When you approach this, it's going to be in that opposite order, starting with be. But you can first answer these questions with knowing what it is that you want to have. That might be easier. Answer them in reverse order if needed. For example, if you know what you want to have, take the time to consider the kind of person you need to be in order to get what you want. And then you'll be able to fill in what you need to do within, making sure that you understand how the 3 connect. The second step is to get specific about the being qualities. It's not only about labeling who you want to be or how you want to be. It's about identifying at a granular level the qualities and the characteristics you need to embody in order to achieve those goals. Step 3 is to take inspired action in the form of small steps. Small steps. I know you've heard me say this before, and I'm going to keep repeating myself on this. Habits are the driver of any kind of action and achievement. Now that you have a plan for the steps you need to take that align with your desired being state, start with the smallest steps you can possibly find and repeat them consistently. For example, in the scenario where you want to be a healthy, more vibrant person, something that healthy person would do is drink more water. One super small step you could take each day would be drinking an additional glass of water when you wake up in the morning. A bonus tip, anchor that habit to something you already do, like drinking coffee. Ask me how I know. I worked with a client who loved to drink coffee and wanted to drink more water instead of the coffee, but the way we approached this was to add drinking water between cups of coffee. The coffee part he had on lock. He was going to grab for that automatically, which is a habit. So we used that existing habit to help add on the new one of more water, and we kept the new one very small and very doable. And was it a success? Yeah, you guessed it. It absolutely was. Because when it's small and doable, even if you don't get it right each and every time, you can maintain that feeling of encouragement so that you keep the consistency and eventually it will work. Step 4 is to visualize your success. I want you to think about what your success will look like, what you will look like when you're the person that you've identified you want to be. And if you aren't sure if that feels like too much of a leap, it depends on the kind of transformation you're looking for. Here is where a vision board may help you. The purpose of one is to allow your mind to, quote, see what your goals are even before you can, so to speak. It's to help familiarize your mind with it. Because again, the more familiar our brains are with concepts, the more we are able to seek solutions. And so when your brain considers it familiar, it will help you believe it's possible, and that will keep moving you forward. You add that to consistent small steps, and you will get there. So remember that once you choose who you want to be, it's the aligned action that comes next, and that needs to be approached as habits. So if you'd like more support on that, I've linked 2 additional episodes in the show notes that can support you all about habits. Episode 15 is on how to harness habits to achieve your goals. That's a great foundational episode that gives you the basics of habits, and it references all the big names in habits like Charles Duhigg and James Clear. And then episode 225 is on how to rebuild a habit or create a better one. So that's like the next level, the intermediate level, and it's a great add-on to the first episode. Now, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is deciding who you want to be. And no worries if you're a fellow multi-passionate, it's not the only thing you can be. It's about who you want to be next, based on the goals and vision you have for yourself. I encourage you to choose one to go with, take these steps, and definitely let me know how it's going and how I can continue to support you. Thank you for joining me today. Your time is precious, and I'm honored you chose to spend it with me. If you have feedback or questions, you can find me through the Connect page of the positivelyproductive.com website. And if you're looking for any of the resources mentioned here, from books to products to training and more, go to positivelyproductive.com/resources.